back to another episode of Twigs and Rigs. My name is Jacob Golopali, joined as always by.
Zach Rosen.
And today we are going to do a couple things. We're going to start by talking about the third round of the NHL playoffs, and then we'll probably go into some things to look forward to, more prospect stuff. A lot of things that Zach and I have been working on. So excited to share that with you guys. But first, we'll do a quick recap or I guess preview of the third round that's already gotten a little bit underway here.
Yeah, it's been a good third round. Been close. Like both series have been tight. I think both games were just game one for Florida was just game one Florida Rangers 3-0 Panthers. Game two was the Rangers winning in OT, and then Dallas Edmonton in game one decided in double OT. Game two, 3-1 last night by Dallas. So it's been close. And game three for Panthers Rangers going on right now with Reinhardt scoring the first goal of the game like 4 minutes in. So
yeah, and I think Zach might have seen this post on LinkedIn that I put, but no matter who wins this year's NHL playoffs, it's going to be huge for the sport of hockey. Hockey wins no matter who wins the Stanley Cup. For the Rangers, even though they got a very passionate fan base already, having the Stanley Cup winner be in probably the most visible city in possible, like one of the most visible cities in the world, is going to be huge for the game of hockey, especially with how rowdy New York fans get. Like, it could be very entertaining, and in a world of in a world of social media, in a world where everything is being shown, and especially rowdy activities, it's going to be huge to see the energy around hockey, and it'll be really cool to see from New York. For Dallas, I guess we'll go to Florida. For Florida, they came up from a team that was said to only have 6 fans. That was the running joke.
Yep.
And now they're selling out. They're selling out their stadium. They have a great energy, and they're really trying to. I think what Florida's trying to do is really capitalize on Florida there, because I went to Tampa Bay. Yeah, exactly right.
At least southern Florida, because they're like closer to like the Miami.
True, area. Miami and Tampa area, right? So, because I was able to go down to Tampa this year, and I didn't know this, but Tampa's a hockey city now. That after the Lightning, and their whole dynasty and everything, and I think, wow, okay, that would be an awesome rivalry to have. Two very passionate, cities, not just fan bases. I'd say cities in Miami and Tampa Bay. And for them to, first off, be in the South, second off, be very passionate cities themselves, I think that's huge, especially considering the drastic growth for the Florida Panthers over the last couple of years. Then Dallas, of course, it's also in the South, Midwest, South. But the thing that I think is awesome about the Dallas Stars is, and I think I've told Zach this before, is they have done something that many teams try to do and failed at, and which puts them back years. Yep, that as well as retooling. They have the old core in there to integrate it with the new core, and they've actually really matched up the contracts really well to almost seamlessly transition. Like we were just talking about Pavelski retiring, that opens up a spot for a guy like Maverick Bourque, and it's just been awesome because it's been a seamless transition. There really seems to be no healthy scratches or need for healthy scratch or players playing out of position. Everybody seems to really be in their spot and integrated with the old core. They have great leadership there, and that's something that really hasn't been. It's really difficult to do because players get drafted. Sometimes they don't develop on the right timeline. Sometimes they don't even develop at all, and you really have to know players to hit, right?
I know when they're going to hit that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's something that hasn't been done, and from the actual technical side of hockey, that is an unbelievable step for them to actually win it with a retooling team. Because sometimes teams try to retool, they try and bring these veterans in, they try and draft players, prospects, and bring them up, right? Exactly, and the players either regress or the team actually steps back for years and years to try and get that top end talent back up to where it should be. So it's an awesome thing I think that the Stars are doing. And lastly, with the Oilers, I think it's a huge marketing thing that the NHL can really capitalize on. When your best player hasn't won a Stanley Cup yet, a player who, in a lot of people's minds, a lot of overall sports fans' minds, is the best, if not one of the best, if not the best athlete in sports, in Connor McDavid, the most dominant player in his sport, but is yet to win an actual Stanley Cup. People just see his tricks as more like just like fancy tricks, right? But it would without a full end result, and then he's always choking or whatever. And I think this is definitely something that can really be a huge selling point for the NHL if their star player finally wins a Stanley Cup and brings it back to Canada of all places. So I think that's great. I rambled a little bit, but I was just kind of recapping.
The thing I like about this year's Final Four is I like, even if the Stars go out for me, like I don't really hate like any team left.
Right. Yeah.
I can't kind of say that if the Avs were here. I can't kind of say that if Vegas was here. It's fun. I mean, it's been a fun ride, been a nerve-wracking ride to get here. So, but like, I mean, it's the best road team in the league going into Edmonton now. I mean, they took 2 in Denver, so, and that's probably the hardest place to play in the league.
Yeah.
So I think heading to Edmonton, like the crowd in Edmonton, like for at least Vancouver wise, that got them like out of the game. Like that was a big part of it. So I mean, also speaking on Vancouver, I mean they have a lot of interesting decisions heading into the offseason. Game tied.
Game tied.
Lafreniere.
Oh.
Who's, by the way, he's had a breakout year. I think
absolutely.
Kind of goes without saying. But he's been great.
Yeah.
But like speaking on Vancouver, they have a lot of decisions this upcoming off season. A lot of free agents coming off. Philip Hronek, Elias Lindholm are kind of the two that stand out. Then you have guys like Dakota Joshua. If I can find their cap friendly. Is the Smith a free agent? He is, but they're going to run it with Silva. So, and then you have like Tyler Myers, Nikita Zadorov, Ian Cole will not be back because he was probably their worst player all postseason long. He was a pylon. And then Sam Lafferty, Teddy Bluger, and I mean it's an interesting offseason. They have $23.7 million cap. Don't know if you pay Hronek after that his bad showing in the playoffs. Lindholm was great after a rough stint after the trade, and then I mean I don't know if he brings Zadorov back because there are a lot of fans who are like, I'd pay him a 6x6. So
definitely a lot of options there, and especially and much like that for the Carolina Hurricanes as well. They've got a lot of decisions now being kicked out of the second. They have no defenseman currently signed, as well as having to make this big decisions on a player like Martin Necas.
And they have an interim GM currently, who I think should.
True. He should have been, yeah.
Because Tulsky, I think the last few years, Tulsky's pretty much been like the brains behind that front office.
Right.
So I think he's deserved a job for a while. Because looking into his background, I mean, he's a very analytical mind. So I think he should be the GM. That's just my opinion. But yeah, they have, I mean, their RFAs are Comtois, Drury, Jarvis, Necas, who's probably going to get traded. Ryan Suzuki, who hasn't really panned out. And then you have UFAs like Gensel, Martinuk, Nason, Teravainen, or Chatfield, D'Angelo, Shea, Pesci. Like,
Yep.
It's guys like that. From what I've heard on 32 Thoughts, they said their top two priorities are Gensel and extending Slavin. Because
I think
Slavin has
yeah,
a year left.
right.
So that'd be very interesting. I do not know what I'd give Jake Gensel right now. I just don't. Um, I think
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see what he gets because he was a great fit there.
he's just a great playoff performer. He's a great connector, especially with the amount of talent that they have down there. It's just obviously I would be very intrigued for them to re-sign Gensel, but I do really think that they're really gonna be kicking themselves if Nate just walks and goes somewhere because I am almost positive he will be a star somewhere else. He's only 24. He's yet to even hit his prime, and he already looks his tools are all there to be an unbelievable player.
Yeah, let me look. What does AFP Analytics project Nature's contract elsewhere?
Yeah, I'd be curious.
For the long term, for a long-term Nature's deal, they project 7 by 7.4. Short term, 3 years, 6.2. So
Okay.
I haven't really heard what team. I know Vancouver's interested in Natchez. That's really like the
Really?
only team I know of, I think.
Vancouver's interested in Natchez.
I mean, they don't need a player like him. Like,
No, they really don't. I'd be more concerned about building their back end if I was Vancouver.
yeah, because you're not bringing back Ian Cole. He was.
And Zadorov, like you talked about, priced himself out probably.
I.
Well, I
Eh,
don't think so.
I don't think so. I'm not a big Zadorov guy. I mean, there are fans saying, "Oh, give him a 6 by 6." No.
Oh no, no, no.
Yeah,
I would
AFP
not say that.
projects Zadorov 5 by 5.2, which I think is an overpay. So, what
Yeah,
do they say?
5 years. I don't know.
What do they say for Mr. Jake Gensel? 7 by 9.2. That sounds right for Gensel.
7 by 9. Yeah, if he's going to take the term, he's not going to get the AAV. So yeah,
Yeah.
okay. If
So
I'm Gensel, I'm taking that for sure.
yeah. Oh yeah. So it's going to be an interesting offseason for both teams because both of them have like a ton of UFAs. A lot of people say the Rangers sent the Canes into a rebuild. No, no.
No, they did not.
Like Kuznetsov was actually a pretty decent fit. You have guys like Jackson Blake coming up next year, Bradley Nadeau. Uh, from what I've heard, they're trying to get Nikishin over. So and then you have Scott Morrow. I
Yeah.
do think they'll re-sign Jalen Chatfield, who I think is one of the most underrated defensemen in the league.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. I'm glad you think that as well.
And then I mean you still have Brent Burns, who's still a good player. I mean his defense isn't there, but he's still a good offensive player. I do think they'll keep Teravainen as well. I really can't see him leaving.
It is crazy though that Brent Burns is what? He's like 38, 39, right?
39. I think it'll be 40 at the beginning of next season.
That
No,
is
midway through next season.
unbelievable. That's unbelievable.
And then Jack Drury, I mean, he's an RFA. I think he's one of the more underrated players in the league as well. More so some more of the underappreciated players in the league. So I mean, he just does everything for them. So they're heading into an interesting offseason. There's a lot of oh yeah, and speaking of an interesting offseason, we need to speak about the trade that happened.
Yeah.
Ryan
Yep.
McDonough back to Tampa. It's
I think that
and they have five
that's an
million
interesting
cap.
one. Yeah,
Like
yeah. I mean,
who do you move out? Because I still can't see Stamkos walking. Like it's like you don't move a guy like Sorelli out. You don't
no,
move
you
a guy
can't.
like Hagel out.
No. I'd be more willing to move Hagel out than Sorelli.
Yeah, I mean Janot. Yeah,
Yeah, probably Janelle.
Janot has a 16 team no trade. Oh,
Damn. You go
Connor
there.
Sheary. He wasn't the best fit, and then you have like it's so hard to move any of these players on that team to bring back Stammer unless he takes a very team friendly deal. So they're, I mean, they're at the end of their window. Let me try.
Yeah.
So let me try and find Stamkos contract on here. They're projecting him to get 3 years, 6.1. So it's really just move out like a Sheary or Janot because both have not been good fits. And then Duclair's walking. I think that's been made pretty obvious.
Which sucks because he was good for them.
He was a great fit.
Oh yeah.
So, and then the other trade between the Hawks and the Islanders,
Mm-hmm.
which I was like, oh, the Hawks move up to 18 and get what was it? And get a second back for 20, 50, and another second.
Right.
So I really wonder why they only jumped one team, really, because they pretty much just moved up to jump Vegas.
Yeah. Let's see. Let me check something here.
And from what I've heard, the Islanders are thinking of dumping either JGP or Lee with that extra second. So it's
I think one thing that I mean, from looking at our mock drafts and stuff like that, it really looks like the Islanders kind of would have taken a better. They both kind of needed similar things, you know. I feel like they both kind of needed similar things around there, and they needed wingers. And around that spot, you're going to get a lot of wingers. You're going to get MBN. You're going to get Greentree, Connolly, Boisvert, Seneke. A lot of those guys are going to probably be available around that spot. And I think it is smart for both teams here. I think Islanders definitely need to build up their prospect pool so they get another second round pick there. And I think Chicago moves up, even if it's just 2 spots. They do leapfrog the Golden Knights, but they also leapfrog technically the Islanders as well, who are going to be looking to take a winger. So they're probably going to be able to get the best of the available wingers.
I do think the Islanders are taking a high floor guy more so than
because absolutely.
Lou. That's why I've got them picking Luchenko.
Yeah, that's smart. That's
a very Islanders pick.
It is for sure. It is.
Which I'm not the biggest fan of, but whatever.
Luchenko?
No, I'm not the biggest fan of Lou. But,
oh, yeah.
And then coaching hire wise, Winnipeg named a head coach, assistant Scott Arniel, which I don't think is the best hire.
I don't know too much about him.
He was their assistant. He's been around for a while. I don't think it's the best hire. I think they could have gone a much better decision. Oh, Rangers scored.
Oh, boy.
Barclay Goodrow.
Again?
Yep, 5th goal.
Jesus.
And then Toronto hired Berube, which, I mean, that's just a perfect fit. I mean, they need a hard ass.
Yeah.
For him at this point. I do wonder what happens with Marner, obviously. I think everyone's kind of wondering that.
Yeah.
and he wants to stay. He has made it known he wants to stay. They have
Yeah.
apparently Toronto front office has not went up to him to ask him to waive his clause. So we'll see what happens there. And then LA named Jim Hill, a former interim coach, now permanent head coach, Jim Hiller, which means DJ Smith is staying as well.
Awesome.
And then Sheldon Keefe is the new coach in Jersey, which I kind of like that fit.
I do as well.
I saw something last night. It was very interesting to me. It was like Sheldon Keefe has something in New Jersey he never had in Toronto, a stud right-handed defenseman. 2, actually, but in Dougie Hamilton.
Oh, right. He's been hurt so long. I forgot
he was hurt
there.
Since November.
Right. Yeah, so they got Nemec and
Dougie.
And
Marino.
And Marino, true. Even just more of a defensive core, because they still have what? They still have Hughes. They're going to get – and Seamus Casey will come up eventually.
And
Siegenthaler, yep. So, yeah, he's got a way better, I'd say, overall team. I wouldn't say potential overall team. Yeah, that's how I put it. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, if they just get a goalie, they're making the playoffs. I mean, that's how I've thought about them the rest of the year. Like if in the offseason, if they just get a good goalie there, because I don't think a tandem of Jake Allen or Cabo Kakin is making the postseason next year. I just don't. So,
yeah.
And now heading into some prospect stuff.
Yeah.
I'll let you start it off.
Yeah, so Zach and I have been doing a lot of work here on our guide that we will be releasing, closer to the draft. So, people will be able to read it while they're actually hype about the draft. So we got a lot of stuff going here. Right now, one thing that's very interesting is as I'm working through the actual teams itself, it's becoming more and more apparent that there doesn't seem to be one specific player within, at least in the later stages of the first round, even after pick 13 or something, even as low as that. It does seem to be a plateau of players in a good way. There's a lot of options to pick from without feeling like you really missed out. But that does in itself make it incredibly difficult to project, in my opinion, who will actually get picked. There definitely is a good sense of it, but I'm definitely going to have to switch up my board a lot. But Zach's been a little bit confident in actually, Zach's been pretty confident. So I'll let Zach go ahead with his
mock has shaped out so far, so a few picks that are actually locked in that I still need to do. So, let me do one now. But from what I've heard, I mean, from looking at different team needs in prospect stuff, at least the top of my board, I'm very set on.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that as well. For me, yeah.
The craziest things that are gonna happen is could be the Habs taking Seneki at 5 or
yeah. Even a guy like Tidge could move up to 5 is a little bit off my board.
No, that I wouldn't be shocked by.
Right.
Because I've seen it mocked around. I've seen different mocks have Demidov fallen to 5, which no, that's not happening. Especially with all the Michkov stuff.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. You can't let that happen again. If you're any organization in that top 5, you cannot let that happen again.
No. So it's very interesting. The only picks I'm surely locked in on, lock in on is obviously 1. I mean, 2.
One thing I do think is interesting that I'm just now getting a little light bulb in my head about, Zach, is Montreal and kind of reaching the last 2 years now.
Yeah.
They got Reinbacher last year, and he was supposed to go 12th. He went 5th.
Hmm.
And now Seneca's supposed to go like in the 20s, and they're saying should go
I don't
flag.
think he's. Is he supposed to go in the 20s? I've seen him mocked like early teens.
Early teens. I don't think so, but that's where the plateau starts to come in. So it's kind of all over the place. So that's fair to say that. But yeah, I mean, either way, 5 is still incredible.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big reach, especially
Yeah.
considering the talent that they'd probably be leaving on the table out there,
Hmm.
which is quite interesting, you know. But if you know, I mean, hey, Detroit did it with Cedar, and
Cider.
Cider, and he shaped out amazingly.
Yeah.
So reaching isn't crazy, but I think to an extent. I don't see the projectability as much in the two guys that they got, where I did see with Cider. So
I mean, we'll say
personally,
about Ryan Bacher. He had a rough year in Europe,
right?
and
Yeah.
then when he got to the AHL, he actually performed really well.
Yep.
So, and I mean,
And
to be
yeah.
fair, he was on one of the worst teams in Europe, I think.
Yeah.
So
True.
it's very interesting to see how this draft will shake up. I think this is probably one of the more unpredictable drafts the last few years
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep.
because it's not stacked. It's doesn't have that I mean, it has the number one pick, but he's not. In my opinion, he's not that generational guy.
No.
I love Celebrini, but it's
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that one for sure.
so. And then it's a big defenseman draft this year as well. So if you're looking for a D man, this is the draft to do it.
Yep.
Thank God. Thank God. Otherwise, I'd be going crazy. Some other things I've seen is that like there's a lot of teams like that don't pick till like round 3 this year.
Yeah. Vancouver's one of them. I know.
Tampa doesn't pick till round 5.
Again, dude, they didn't pick till round 6 last year.
They picked in round 2 last year.
They did.
Yeah, they picked.
Who'd you
Ethan
get?
Kocheck.
Oh yeah, they did. Oh, might have been, but after that, where did they pick after that?
I don't know.
Oh, well, that's fair. I can't ask you to know that.
Like they don't have a pick till round 5 this year. So
Yeah.
good job, Tanner Janot.
Very worth Tanner Janot.
Yeah. So it's tough to project the rest of these picks as well because obviously we don't know the order yet.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So who knows? What was I trying to say? I also learned yesterday that the Fiala trade ended up Minnesota getting both Faber and Urov. So
Is that true?
Yeah.
Damn.
So
I didn't know that.
So things like that might happen this year. Obviously, 2025 picks are going to have a ton of value. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the draft that Zach and I are crazy excited about. So definitely going to look for a lot of hype on that. Reinhardt again?
Yeah.
Damn, dude, he's cooking.
He's going to get paid.
He is certainly.
11 mil now.
11 mil. Jesus. But yeah, so gotta get going here. But any last comments, Zach?
No, I think that's it.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining, and yeah, we'll be back to talk about the preview for the finals. So.